Hi, my name is María Constanza Ferreira, and I'm an interdisciplinary artist based in Porto. My practice incorporates experimental film, animation, installation, photography, and various forms of fine art in digital formats. I was born in Caracas, Venezuela. I grew up in the United States, but a year and a half ago, I decided to move to Porto to explore more personal themes in my practice and reconnect with my Portuguese roots. In the past, I have worked with the intersection of art and science. I have utilized different scientific imaging techniques and tools such as satellites, microscopes, scanners, computers to explore the imperceptible and to highlight abstracted portraits of the material world. The crystals that I grow come from saturated powders, which I then melt to create the crystal slide, these crystal paintings. So as you can see here, a crystal is clear, but if you look at it within two polarizers, you get this prismatic phenomenon. Because the internal structure of crystals is so incredible and complex, it really creates these almost like microscopic prism-like structures, which then are able to have light bounce around within them in different speeds. I am traditionally trained in fine art and painting, and I think this was such an incredible experimental and contemporary way to explore color, form and shape and abstraction. And utilizing scientific imaging techniques and microscopes, I was able to capture the origin of these crystals. My first film, Lattice, was this really innocent journey into science and crystallography. It was a really pure form of experimentation and play through materials. And I grew a lot of different kinds of crystals with whatever materials I had available, like vitamin C, sugar, and salt. And I really pushed myself to capture as many images as I could, as many time lapses as I could. And I never in a million years could have imagined that 3-minute animation would be the seed of my whole artistic practice, to this day. So there are two ways of growing crystals. One is with heat, where the chemical is melted, but there's also a way of growing crystals through solution-based processes, which means you mix the chemical with water, and as the water evaporates, the chemical begins to crystallize. So from these water-based solutions, you're left with an actual crystal. So as the water evaporates, the crystal itself then absorbs the dye and creates these recurring patterns. There's two main categories to these patterns. One is an hourglass, two triangles upside down, touching each other, and hillocks patterns, which pretty much means little mountains, and you can see little ridges of patterns within the crystal. After collecting a lot of these grown crystals, I decided to experiment with a flatbed scanner. So it yielded incredible results for capturing these really small crystal objects. So as you can see, a lot of these crystals you can cut and slice, which then became almost like animation frames. So in taking these little fractured parts of crystals, I was able to animate them into motion. So not only was I animating different types of crystals, but I was also animating different versions of the crystals themselves. It was an incredibly tedious process because not only did I have to grow the crystals themselves, but then I manipulated the crystals, I scanned the crystals, and then I animated the crystals. So this whole process took about a year. I couldn't help but wonder how these microscopic crystal images reminded me of larger natural structures. They looked like rivers, like lakes, like mountain ranges, even like different types of plants and animals. So I started asking myself if there was a way to look at larger geographical imagery and compare the microscopic with the macroscopic, which is how I ended up arriving to the field of remote sensing and satellite imagery. I worked with remote sensing scientists and different types of satellite-based open source databases to collect and gather thousands of satellite images and then search for patterns to then create an animation, which is called VIA. VIA was this really amazing way of thinking about the surface of the earth like a body and really finding unique ways of bringing it to life through motion and through abstraction. Something that I really love exploring in my work, and specifically through VIA, is how abstraction is found everywhere through nature, but technology has really allowed us to explore these like abstract portraits of the material world. So I really wanted to transform these satellite images into almost like a moving painting and really inject these still imagery with life and motion and color.